Alright, so for 29, you are just writing an equation for each of the inverse functions, and how you determine which one is the tangent, sine, and cosine are basically by the original values that you had in your original graphs. So if you remember, tangent had asymptotes at negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. Well, they were originally vertical asymptotes. However, the inverse, I'm now going to flip them and make them horizontal asymptotes. And my graph is still going to go through 0, 0. And then it's going to be an increasing graph looking like this. So this is your tan inverse. Tan inverse is the only one that has the asymptotes like that of your basic sine, cosine, and tangent functions. For this one, 0, 0, the only graph that passed through 0, 0 with sine and cosine was sine. So you know this is your sine inverse graph. And again, if you remember, an inverse is basically where I take the original x and y values and I flip them. So in my original sine graph, I had the point 0, 0. If I flip that, I'm still left with 0, 0. Okay. Then the graph went up to pi over 2, and then at pi over 2, the value was 1. So if I flip that, 1 comma pi over 2, I'm going to get a point here. And then my other value was at negative pi over 2, and if I went the other direction, it went down to negative 1. So I know that instead of negative pi over 2, negative 1, it's going to be negative 1, negative pi over 2. And then draw the shape of the graph. For cosine, in my original cosine function, and from here, if you remember, your domain is restricted between 0 and pi. So 0, pi over 2, and pi were your 3 points. Well, in your original function, at 0, the y value is 1. At pi over 2, it was 0, and at pi, it was negative 1. So therefore, if I flip 0, 1, I get 1, 0. And if I flip pi over 2, 0, I get 0 pi over 2. And if I flip pi negative 1, I get negative 1 pi. So those are my 3 values, and then again, I draw the shape of the graph. Now again, I just said that my domain was restricted for all of these functions, and if I restrict my domain in the original function, it becomes the range of the new function. So if I look at these graphs and I try to determine my domain and range, for tangent, my domain is going to be from negative infinity to positive infinity, because this is going to keep going right and this is going to keep going left. Okay. For sine, my domain is going to be from negative 1 to 1, and also for cosine, it's going to be from negative 1 to 1. What's going to be different is my range for each of these. My range for sine is going to be from negative pi over 2 to pi over 2, and for cosine is going to be from 0 to pi.